That Word document just opened, it almost ran a script that could have encrypted your entire device. What saved you? A rule that you probably didn't even know was turned on. Hey guys, it's Nick. Welcome to another episode of T-365. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down attack surface reduction rules, or ASR rules, from Microsoft 365. We're going to talk about how they can protect your organization from ransomware and other types of malicious attacks. And I'm also going to highlight why rolling them out the wrong way can actually cripple a business, the business applications, and create a massive support burden for you as the MSP. Okay guys, so you've been following along with the channel. I've been doing this little mini series on secure application management. We've been going through some of the layer protections here. Today, we're double clicking into layer 3 protections for these attack surface reduction rules, which really takes a look at locking down things a little bit more at the application layer for things like running macros, running processes, or scripts that are truly unauthorized. So let's pop into the Intune Admin Center to start to look at how you can configure these policies. So starting here in the Intune Admin Center, you're going to go under Endpoint Security. The obvious prerequisite that you need to have here is that devices are enrolled into Defender. I've done a separate video a few weeks ago on that, so be sure to check that out if you haven't seen that already. But there's a couple different methods also to enroll or enforce attack surface reduction rules across your devices. And within here, I'm going to go under the attack surface reduction section and click on Create Policy. Under the platform, I'll select Windows, and under the profile, I'll select Attack Surface Reduction Rules and click Create. Here, I'll give this a basic name, and then I'll click on Next. And then the configuration settings here is where you have all of your rules that you're going to set as far as a setting here goes. From the drop-down perspective, they're almost identical across the board. You have them off by default, and then you have these three options of block, audit, or warn. There's going to be some policies that don't give you the warn option. But as a user on the outset, you may be thinking, hey, I should probably go ahead and turn these all to block because that's going to be the best recommendation in order to prevent ransomware or other types of malicious attacks on these devices. And while that's good in theory, Microsoft doesn't actually give you any warning messages here that that's actually going to cause a lot of disruption within an organization in most cases. It's actually going to prevent them from running certain processes on applications that are truly not malicious in nature. So there's going to be a lot of false positives. So for that reason, the recommendation is to turn this to audit. Microsoft's credit, they do give you this recommendation as part of their holistic documentation that you would follow. So be sure to check that out. I'll link it as well for more information. But effectively here, I'll show you how to audit these in the Defender admin portal after you enroll them. All of these various settings, though, go through a lot of different configurations here. And a lot of them are involved with Office applications as an example. And then we get into some considerations for just processes running and authorized scripts, authorized software, things like that. So it's helpful in also mapping to control frameworks like the CIS controls because it helps us fulfill those particular sections. Now within here, I can go ahead and turn all of these on into audit mode. And this is something that you're going to be able to view over time. So the recommended path here is to perform all these audits. And then we're going to create exclusions over time as well, and as it relates to those false positives. So let's actually pivot it into the Defender admin portal now and see this after we've deployed this in an organization. Okay, so in the Defender admin center, you can scroll down on the left nav into the report section. There's going to be a report section here for attack surface reduction rules that you can click on. And here you're going to be able to see the telemetry here. I've got a mix of audit detections and block detections because I started enforcing this within the organization on this particular day, as you can see there. But this will go ahead and list out everything that is being audited as far as getting flagged for one of those attack surface reduction rules. And you can click on it to see a little bit more information as well. This particular one, this svc host.exe, is one you'll likely see as well in your environment. It's not something that I would exclude in any regard. It does create a lot of noise, but can be used in malicious activity. So just keep that in mind. It's probably a baseline one that you're going to see no matter what environment you're looking at. But in this particular section, you can filter based off of certain activities, certain rules. Standard protection is a couple of different rules that they want you to enforce, which I'll get into as well. But effectively here, you can also add any filter for a device group or blocked or audited, and then the individual rules if you want to look at a particular attack surface reduction rule as far as that outset. But one of the things that I like to do in here is take a look at this configuration to see how many devices I have that are in block versus just audit only. And in the exclusion section, this is where you get more of a list of the individual bundled files that were executed here that had detections that potentially could have been blocked. One of them, the ones that stands out to me, is this OneDrive setup exe. There is ways, obviously, that we can push this out as administrators that would avoid users downloading this and running this, but OneDrive setups and other file storage like Dropbox or Google Drive is another one that, or Box as an example, is another one that might get blocked, as an example of something that you would want to add an exclusion for. You can go ahead and download this exclusion paths here, which will actually give you the paths that you need to include into your exclusion list. This is something I don't think a lot of people know exists, honestly, between here, but this is something that you would want to go and add. So if I said, hey, this actual file path here as the OneDrive setup exe, this one was actually from the downloads section of a user's device. So there's a couple different ways we could handle that as well too, but for the sake of time, I'm actually going to go back here and go back into our policy. And then in the attack surface reduction rules, I'm actually going to go down. And if we go back actually real quick here, this was detected for the OneDrive setup exe here. If we go back to detections and we search for OneDrive here, we'll see that it's for the rule of block use of copied or impersonated system tools. So this is basically one of Microsoft's rules here within attack surface reduction that flagged this as well too, because this execution of the OneDrive setup exe lived outside of this Windows location that they typically look for, which is the real system copy tool or location of OneDrive that's native, which is in the System32 drive on a device. That's a little bit technical, gets into the weeds a little bit, but just to describe that as far as why that was flagged, especially since it is a native Microsoft application on this. And if we go ahead and find this rule here as an example, it says block use of copied and impersonated system tools. We can actually add a couple of ASR rules here to this as well. And if we go ahead and we paste in this first value, we can see here that this is basically giving us that designation for the Microsoft Office root integration add-ons. As an example, one trick that you can use here as well too for these designations is actually to put it in like this, where you have some flexibility in the file path there. A better example is the second item that we saw in our exclusion list. So if I just paste that in here first, this is in a user's downloads file here. So that's not something we would want to go ahead and whitelist for all users as an example of that. So the way that you would do this here is using the same type of formatting here, where we would put in the percentage user profile, percent downloads, OneDrive setup exe as an example for that. And that's what you would end up saving for this exclusion moving forward. Now, again, there's other ways that you could look at avoiding this by having that OneDrive downloaded and approved methods as an example. But that's one way that you can go ahead and start to monitor the audit log here for things that are getting blocked and then start to resolve them before you actually get into going into block mode as an example. If we go back to that example I was showing earlier where we have this hypothetical situation where maybe this user is getting phished here and they're being sent what looks like a document, maybe it looks like it's coming from HR and saying, hey, there's a pay raise increase here. And they go ahead and click on this to open up the Word document. And from here, they get this little banner message that talks about a security warning that says some active content has been disabled. Click for more details. Most users will not even read that. They'll just click on enable content. Just they're click happy. But in this case, we see that there's multiple use cases. That message also might say macros are disabled if you don't have other things disabled like I do here as well. But you have this macros concept here that's listed. And when I go ahead and click on enable content, this is actually where that macro auto runs just based off of me opening this document. And that's where an attacker could typically get in and perform some type of malicious activity, start running scripts with PowerShell, reach out to an open internet connection. There's a lot of various things that they could start to do here. And the user, seemingly wouldn't know it, with that protection that was just in place that we just put in with the ASR rules. But also on the flip side, they would not understand that anything's happened maliciously if macros were enabled and they were able to run that script on this device as well too. So if you're on the device and you go open the Windows security section, you'll also see in the protection history where we're getting these actions blocked here from all of these events. And in some cases here, we'll have, the exact process here, which is talking about the Word application running and the affected items being the, this executable trying to be processed here from a macro that is in that Word document. And this is our protection for block all Office applications from creating child processes as well. So all of that's kind of listed here. We also have considerations for controlled folder access, which is a little bit beyond the scope of this video in depth, but effectively it's also helping with ransomware protection. But this is where one of our applications, actually my recording application here on this device. So there's a lot here that we obviously can do, but it takes a lot of a phase progression here to roll this out and get all of these into a good location. The other one I'd say that's probably highly disruptive is the controlled folder access for a lot of executables, things like that. And in this case, this is my video editing software here that I needed to use because it needed access into a certain document folder that's protected. And so there's going to be a lot of auditing, obviously, that you need to do in any organization. In this section, though, here in Defender, if we go over into the endpoint section and then vulnerability management and then recommendations, you're going to have a lot of these security recommendations in here as it relates to the attack surface reduction rules. And the really cool part here is with them, you actually get some telemetry after 45 days on the user impact. So this is really helpful because it's monitoring for any of those types of events. And in this case, we could safely set it on 2%, which is the 100% proliferation in this test tenant, for us to roll that out. So this is another good, way to be able to view that and understand user impact, so you don't just start blowing people's applications away in the sense of their functions. A more appropriate example is obviously that financial guru, macro guru in the financial department that's running some macros that might potentially have those stop working and disrupt their day, which is highly expensive, right? If you think about that for them as well too. Lastly here, if you reference the documentation from Microsoft, I will put it here in my chat, but this basically outlines which rule in the states gets EDR alerts, as in Defender alerts going into the portal, versus just a toast notification to the user like I was showing up in that pop-up before, where they just say, hey, your administrator blocked this action, as an example. So this is really good to reference to understand which of these policies here or these settings would actually create alerts within Defender. And then within the deployment guide, this is also where it gets into how you go from planning into operationalizing. And this is that phase progression of piloting this out, auditing, getting things into a warn mode potentially before blocking them as well too. So you kind of ease the use case of having this in the organization and don't create a lot of backlash at first with deploying these policies into that block mode state. ASR rules block attacks that antivirus never sees. They're fast and they're included in Microsoft Defender for Business. Just test them first, audit it across the organization, adjust, and then enforce that across your endpoints. If you're an MSP or even a small IT team, start implementing attack surface reduction rules into your security baselines today. For more videos that break down real-time threats and protections in Microsoft 365, definitely hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video.